did Melo do this? They'll send me like a list or something. Did Melo do this? I'll see Melo's name on this list, and I'm like, oh my god, like. And then I'll just throw something out there like, well, did LeBron go to college? And he'll be like, so that don't matter. So, like it's always going back and forth.
I just don't think he has it anymore.
Melo's the role he didn't want in Oklahoma City.
Carmelo Anthony throws it straight away.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Control the Narrative, a podcast where we control the narrative that the media creates. If you're new around here, subscribe to catch our weekly podcast. And if you're a returner, a subscriber, or better yet, a Control the Narrative member, like these fine three gentlemen are, pause. We appreciate you as always. It's been 7 days since the news came out that Carmelo's heading to LA. We've had some time to digest it. We're going to bring on some different voices now to get everybody's opinion because last week we were all pretty down in the dumps and got a lot of response from social media. I would say off the bat, maybe like 80% of people are hyped about this in terms of like people who follow us or just Melo fans. And there's like 20% of us who are not too excited about this whole move. So we'll get into it now. Three guys we got on tonight. Top right, my guy Joe. Bottom right, my guy Kenny. And bottom left, my guy Elmac. All repeat visitors. If you watch our podcast, you know who they are. My guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode.
What's good?
Appreciate you guys, dog.
Yes, sir. I think we could just get right into it like we did last week. Like we could start with Joe on the top right. It's been 7 days since it's been announced that Melo is heading to LA. It just became official, I want to say 4 days ago. So 7 days after the news, how are you feeling? How are you digesting all this? And has your feeling changed? Let's also add that in there.
For me, my feeling hasn't changed. I had a feeling that, it's going to be the Knicks or the Lakers. And from those two teams, we would know as fans of Melo the path he wanted to choose for this point in his career. If he wanted to sign with the Knicks, he was, going the path as I want to retire, go back home where I'm from, and retire a Knick and make the playoffs, but not contend for a championship. Okay. If you want to go to LA, this is me saying I want to contend for a chip. We play. I know we know we play alongside LeBron and AD, but it's his best chance to get a chip. So I know what we knew based off his choice, the path he was going to take. Like I said, before we went on air, I'm not mad at him for it. I from him, going through the Houston situation, what happened with him with the whole 10 games, whatever. I know he had to meet him and his team had a meeting with the LA staff management. It was like, listen, this be 100 with me, keep it transparent. It's my role. And with that, whatever was said during that meeting, he was on board with. That's why he signed, and thinking about it in the team they put together, they a little bit older, but man, that team is stacked, and I think the additions of Malik Monk and Kendrick Nunn go pay dividends come playoff time, them guys are good, man. They got them on minimum deals or, mid-level sessions or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I think all, at the end of the day, I think Melo did the best thing for him and his legacy moving forward.
Fair. Kenny, I think we know how you feel based on your background and that fire-ass Christmas jersey. Why don't you tell us how you're digesting all this?
I still can't get used to it, man. It's even seeing pictures of him in yellow and gold, like yellow and purple, it just looks weird to me. It's like it doesn't. I don't know. They have some good pieces around him, but I don't know. I can't really swallow that yet. And I don't know. It's hard because it's like the matchups with them two was always like exciting to see, like them going against each other. But now it's like, all right, he's teaming up with them. But how much is it really going to help him? Is it like when it's time for, when stuff gets down, is it going to look towards like, well, you know what happened? You know what happened every time something goes bad, you know what happens? Always switches to who's that person that's going to take the blame. And the
Scapegoat.
big three is like, okay, it's the big three, but can they gel together? It's like all this stuff is good on paper, but I don't know. Can Russ actually take a back seat to fit in the role, like to help everybody else out, like to a lesser role versus the normal Russ that we know, or is he just gonna be in the way, trying too hard? Like I don't know.
Yeah, all fair points. Last Elmac, what do you think, man? How you digesting all this?
I think again, I would have said totally. I would have loved to see him on the Knicks, but again, this narrative continues to evolve, and I think where we're at right now is that we're not quite done. Like, hey, we thought we could get to the finals with Portland, and that didn't happen. And well, it would have been nice now. Hey, come play in New York next couple of years. The team's not ready to win a title, not with the current climate of how teams are built. So I really think that this is the best situation for him. And I think we all want Melo a chance to win a title. This is his best chance to win a title. Now, again, a couple of the guys have already said the team looks really good on paper. But with Russ and LeBron both needing the ball and other guys, how do they all fit together? That's the big question. We talk about scapegoats, and it'll be very interesting who they point fingers. There's a lot of people to point fingers before we get to Melo. I think if we start missing a whole bunch of shots, then the heat's going to come our way, right? But I think it's taken a little while for me to come around, but this is the best place. I totally agree that it looks weird that he's playing in LA, but I think if we go back and think about all of the conversations we had, and I think it's the fourth time I've been on here about in the early going, like for him just to be on a team was a big deal, and it was a big deal for him just to be on Portland the last call it 2 seasons. So for him to not linger around in free agency and wondering what his future is, now that it's done, we know he's going to a contending team. I've come to peace that, hey, this is the right thing. Just the novel isn't done yet. Hopefully we get a title, and then we 1 year exception, and we can say that, hey, we're gonna have the good old curtain call, and we're gonna do it in NYC or in orange and blue. That's how I look at it.
Fair point.
Yeah,
that's all fair. I don't disagree with anything anybody said. For me personally, like somebody commented on our YouTube video on our podcast last week and was like, Steve, when you introed that shit, like I thought you were gonna cry. And I was down in the fucking dumps, man. Like as soon as that shit hit me, I was devastated for the days after. I was depressed. Like I was actually, I couldn't work. One of my coworkers, Bo, shout out Bo if you're listening to this or watching this. Somebody tweeted like, yo, how's Steve doing? Haven't heard from him in a few hours. And he was like, just had a meeting with him. Didn't even want to ask him a work-related question. Dude looked destroyed or something like that. So I was down in the dumps. Obviously, I think you can hear in my voice now, I'm a little less upset about everything just because obviously as time goes on. But also, like Lionel, you said it is his best opportunity to win. Like I knew this last week. Like we've always known that if he wanted to win, it was either going to be LA or Brooklyn. Like Joe said, we knew based on Melo's decision where his mind was at. His mind right now is on winning a championship, and we'll get into what it means to Melo's legacy in a little bit. But like he had his media kind of availability yesterday, and he was talking about that's the one thing his career doesn't have, which has kind of been a turnaround from what he said in the past, where he's always been like, if I retire without a championship, like I'm good. Like I don't need that. And he's always kind of said that. So now to hear this kind of turnaround of like, I need that. Like that's the one, it keeps me up at night, he said. So I think that's kind of an interesting 180 from how he's been talking about it throughout his entire career. Maybe because he's getting into the latter part of his career. It's like, fuck, like I do need this, whatever. but I'm still upset about it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I wish he would have came to the Knicks. What kind of a role would he have had on the Knicks? That's a topic for another day, and things like that. But still seeing him in that yellow and purple. We've seen it in Photoshop for years. Like, we've seen that shit for years for Photoshop, and now to get like it coming from the Lakers Instagram and all this shit, I'm like, I still look at it and I'm like, I just it doesn't look right to me. Like, it just doesn't, especially coming from a Knicks fan. It's still wild. So, long story short, 7 days after the news, I guess I'm just kind of coming to terms with it. I'm not happy about it, and like, again, a lot of people have been coming at me and Control on social over this past week, Instagram, Twitter, and all these things, saying, real Melo fans this, real Melo fans that. Just because I don't like where he went, and like I would have rather he went to another team. Like, we're still recording podcasts. We're still like, people act like we're giving up on him. Like, we are still gonna fucking support him. Like, all of us. Look at all of us. Like, none of us are happy, and we're all still here in our Melo shit. Not me today, but we're still supporting. Like, that's what the fuck we do. So for everybody coming at, the comment us on the comments on YouTube, Twitter, like, we are still gonna be behind this movement.
100%.
Yeah, that's all I want to say about
Let me ask you this: as that, do you think is it more for you or us? Is the Lakers is an organization, or is LeBron? Because LeBron is there.
It's both.
Yeah,
it's both.
I think it's both.
Yeah. We've gone to war with the Lakers so often, and not in obviously the playoffs, but there was a lot of matchups over the years. The Lakers and the Knicks. Kobe versus Melo. Rest in peace, Kobe. And then obviously there's been, since day one, we've been going toe to toe with LeBron. He has the Rookie of the Year trophy that should be at Melo's house.
Should have been Melo's. Yep.
So
100%.
Last year in the playoffs, Portland, LA.
Yeah.
There's a long history.
Yeah. I feel that.
Fair question. Thanks for that segue, Joe. Let's get into the Melo LeBron storyline. So, I don't know if I necessarily know how everybody feels about LeBron. I think I have an idea, but Kenny, we'll start with you on this one. What do you think about this storyline of Melo and LeBron playing together? Obviously, they've been friends since high school. Obviously, they have a long, long history. They played together in USA basketball, on all-star teams, things like that. They're finally teaming up. Objectively, it is a cool storyline, but what do you think about it? Like, do you maybe it's not objectively. What do you think of the storyline?
I mean, I feel like they've been playing that out for his whole career, though. It's like every time they're about to play each other, or because to me it's like, okay, they said the same thing about him and Chris Paul in Houston, but look what happened. Like, nothing came out of it. They didn't step up for him. Like, you hearing like maybe he didn't say something, but it's like you didn't really fight for him. It's like, okay, LeBron, now all of a sudden you want him because it's like you don't have any other options out there. It's like now you want to pull him in when you could have done it 2 or 3 or 4 times, like 2 or 3 or more. Like, it should have been happened if you were going to do it. Like, when you guys had the actual team around him to win. And it's like, I don't know. I just think they overplay it now. I was like, all right, now y'all just trying to find a reason. And then it's like, now that he has more say-so on the team, it's like, well, LeBron brought him in, but still other people that had say-so on that too. So it's just like, they're using it. I think they're playing, like, it's like they're playing it out. It's like, how far can you go with it? Like, because then if they don't win the season, then what's going to be the end of the narrative with that? Like, what are you going to say now? So I don't know. I think they use it it's too far. It's too much. They overdo it.
That's fair. Like, Stephen A on First Take, I just posted it on our socials like a few hours ago. He came out and said LeBron could have had Melo a few times. And the most intriguing thing is he could have had Melo in the 2019-2020 season when Melo was blackballed, and the Lakers ended up winning the championship that year. Just throwing that out there.
But I hate you saying it's a valid, fair point, but at the same time, I think at that particular time, Melo was still in the mind frame that, listen, I'm still number one, number two scorer on any team, you know? And I think GMs or owners didn't think that about Melo during that time, you know what I'm saying? And it took Houston to release him, for him to humble himself, right? To figure out this, everything changed when he got humbled. You know what I'm saying? He had a team. Portland came in the last hours and signed him. Now he found a role for himself, you know? So I think that experience, that year off, humbled his mind, you know? I just think during that time when LeBron could have got Melo or whatever it may be, I think the organizations around the league were in a different place as far as where he ranked as far as number one, number two option.
Yeah, that's fair. He's admitted that like that year off did him a lot of good, and he had to like recalibrate on a lot of shit. But he did come off the bench in Houston, and like he was the third option, maybe even fourth behind Eric Gordon at the time. But fair point.
Yeah. Well, Darren Moore did. He did. Excuse my friend. He did fuck him. Just out there. But, sorry.
He did fuck him.
He did fuck him.
Lionel, you think he fucked him, or what do you think of this whole storyline?
Yeah, the whole storyline, you know what? They're going to play it up like, you know, this is going to be like the second coming of LeBron and Wade. Like that's how they're playing it, but it's going to be, they're going to be like Elgers. This will almost be like the Cleveland scenario versus the Miami Heat scenario where they're both still in their prime. Again, yeah, like LeBron could have had him many times, but I really look at, I'm not talking about when, you know, Melo got cut and he got his $30 million, but he was literally blackballed from the league. Think about the weeks or even months that teams started talking about bringing Melo in. This is a time that I will never forget, that LA had a great team pulled together and could have pulled Melo in and chose not to. Now, hey, tough to argue because they ultimately did win and they knew what they needed in terms of chemistry. Like, you can't doubt that. But again, when you look at, LeBron has such an impact on an organization, on who is acquired and who becomes part of the team. I although they are so close friends, like, I just will always hold it against LeBron that he had opportunities to pull Melo in. Now, don't get me wrong. I love LeBron as a player. LeBron would be easily in my top 10, and not, I think he's top 10 best, top 10 favorites. I've been watching LeBron since he came in the league. I bought the first 4 or 5 LeBron shoes sheerly because I love LeBron. I probably have 15 different ones. But the fact that when Melo was literally, you know, running in Central Park at 2 a.m. putting up shots, and he could not get on a team, where was LeBron? And that moment in that particular period, I will never forget. And I won't say I won't forgive, but I will never forget that LeBron could have ended all the madness that we went through for months, and he didn't do it.
Yeah. All facts. Joe, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I hear what both of you guys are saying. You know, I agree to a certain extent. You know, I've been reading a lot of other blogs and watching a lot of ESPN and all the videos about Melo to the Lakers and all the narratives out there about, if Lakers do win the chip, it's going to be about, the narrative going to be like, LeBron got Melo his first chip, so all but be about that. But at the same time, my argument would be to that, I think personally, in my opinion, if the Lakers do win the chip next season, it's not going to be about LeBron winning the chip and Melo. It's going to be about that team as a whole winning the chip. Don't get me wrong, LeBron's a big part of what they do, but we all know that in that 2020 bubble season, without AD, they don't win that chip. You know, they don't win that chip. He was a big part what they did and got him over the hump in certain times in that finals. So moving forward to this season, I think with all the parts, AD, Bron, Nunn, all them parts, it's going to be an effort of everybody bringing a good tone, as Steven Smith would say, bringing the good tone. going to be a collective effort by everybody to win the chip.
Totally. That's what it's going to take. But you got to remember, though, you think that the narrative is not going to be, oh, LeBron's got 5. He has as many as Kobe. We can talk about, he's the greatest Laker of all time. Like that stuff is going to now surface. It's not going to be about this team being a collective. It's going to take a collective effort to win. But the narrative is going to be all about LeBron winning chip number 5 if that's what actually happens.
True.
That's my 2 cents.
I hear that, but I'm just saying, I just think in this upcoming season, based off the last 2 years with everybody getting hurt, AD, LeBron, injuries, whatever it may be, it's going to be more of an effort of the whole team as a whole. LeBron ain't the type of player no more that can bring a team by himself on his back and win a chip. It's going to be more AD than LeBron. LeBron going to be the Batman. I mean, LeBron going to be the Robin to AD the Batman, in my opinion. He's that good of a player. LeBron has taken a minor step back in the peg of Batman and Robin, in my opinion.
Yeah. In the playoffs, AD was the best player.
Yeah.
Especially in the finals.
Forget about they wouldn't have won without him. Like he was the best player on the Lakers in the bubble playoffs. Game-winning shots, 40-point, all that. For me, just to finish this Melo LeBron thing, I think everybody knows how I feel about LeBron. I don't have to rant about that. But I just feel like, like you guys feel, I feel like it's a little overblown, this whole, storyline. But then I hear Melo say things about he's one of my closest friends. We've known each other for this long. It's deeper than basketball, all this stuff. And then I think about who are kind of we, and I looked at myself and I was like, who are we to be like, this storyline is overblown because it means a lot to Melo. Yes, it's ESPN and Bleacher Report and all these people making these posts and completely forgetting that LeBron could have signed him or traded for him 18 different times. But if Melo feels this is one of my best friends and all this shit, I think it's hard for me personally to be I'm sick of this storyline. And I haven't posted a single thing about it on Control. We haven't posted one, them throughout the years and all this bullshit that they're all coming up with. But I feel for the storyline of people who want to run with this, from the outside looking in, of Melo and LeBron. Oh, I didn't know that he could have signed Melo in LA and he would have won a chip with that team. I didn't know that, the Cavs could have traded for Melo when he was on the Knicks 30 different times, and that Melo could have went to LA, all these different times, or in Miami. Obviously, that was kind of Melo's fault, but I'm kind of 50-50 on this. I am not going to participate in it, but for people who do, I'm kind of not mad. And I fucking hate LeBron. I fucking hate him.
I think also it might be something that Melo might have thought about with them two being close to Kobe too. It might have been something they wanted to do together. Maybe go after a championship together and win it in honor of Kobe too. I thought about that's something else I thought about too. Because remember Melo wouldn't play when Kobe first passed. He wouldn't play because he couldn't go into the arena and see all that stuff. So now he's at a point where it's he might want to do it for Kobe, or that's in the back of his mind. They want to win one together for Kobe, because that's something Kobe would have definitely wanted. So,
but you know what? At the same time, fellas, I mean, I hear what you guys saying about LeBron could have brought Melo in Lakers last year or year before, or in Cleveland, or the case may be. But at the same time, LeBron can have his say so. Maybe he did go to the management and say, listen, I want Melo to come play with our team. But at the end of the day, it's management who make those choices. Granted, LeBron is the man. They should do what we say because he's that great. I get all that. But at the end of the day, they paying them checks out. So they make the final decision on who they bring to their team.
You don't think LeBron makes every decision?
With the Lakers?
He's got major influence.
Yeah, he has a big input on the decision. But at the end of the day, it's up to Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, who they want to bring in for the fit of that team. at whatever salary you want to bring him in at.
Of course.
They're gonna value LeBron's point. Don't get me wrong, to the highest extent, but they sign them checks. Jenny Buss, and all them buses. They won all them championships. It's not LeBron. You know what I'm saying? So I just think we should have an open mind when it comes to about all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
So, Joe, you don't like the nickname Le GM?
Who?
Le GM?
What's that?
You know how they call like LeBron like Le Flop and
Oh yeah.
Le GM.
But again, I mean, I just think it's more to that than him wanting a certain player.
I think Magic too. It has something to do with Magic.
You think so? It doesn't like I know he stepped down, but isn't he still involved in the organization somehow?
Yeah, because I mean, wasn't that one point the story of him getting LeBron? Like he went to his house and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was when he was the president or the GM, I think. I think he's still involved, maybe somehow, but yeah. It's the only reason I asked that question was because yesterday Melo was talking about LeBron came to me and he said, what did he say? He said, LeBron said, it's time. Like, I want you. Like, let's do this. I was like, oh, all right. In year 19, you say that, right? Not in year 10, 14, 17, but in year 19, LeBron's like, let's do it, man. You just shot 41% from three. And again, the whole like encore, I'm not going to repeat myself what I said last week. Let's get into
keep in mind too, Lakers were strapped for money too. I mean,
yeah.
They want a lot of players on minimum deals, so a lot of variables going to that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. Let's go best case scenario. Let's say the Lakers won the championship this year. I can't believe those two sentences just combined, or that one sentence, just all those words came out of my mouth. But let's say the Lakers win the championship. We could start with El Mac on this one. What do you think a championship would mean to Melo's legacy? Knowing the fact that he's not the guy, he's not the second guy, he's not the third guy. He's probably going to be the fourth guy. And we don't know if he's going to put up 8 points a game or 14 or whatever. But knowing the role we think he's going to play, how do you feel this potential championship would influence his legacy?
Well, I think looking at his decision and even some of the things you've mentioned earlier, one, it means a lot to him personally that he wins this title. I think, there were times when the opportunity wasn't there, the whole Houston thing, that he was more at peace with what his legacy was. But now him coming back, him, playing 2 years in Portland, now a top 10 scorer, he easily could be, 8, 7 by the time this season is, plays itself out, so long as he stays healthy. So I think it cements his legacy. And I think it probably gives people a different perspective of him. They've always said, he's all about himself. It's all about scoring. But for him to ultimately be part of a team that actually wins, we know how talented he is. We know he is one of literally the most unguardable players we've ever seen in the NBA. But I think for people to buy into everything that is Melo, it is going to take for them to win the title. So as crazy as it sounds, and maybe it's not that crazy, it means a lot actually that he actually wins the title. You think about Chris Paul and, all the accolades that he has, it would have meant a lot if the Suns had won, but they didn't. And I don't know if they'll ever win again. I think that that door was there for them to knock it down, and they didn't. And I think they'll never even get close. I don't know if they'll win 2 rounds next year.
I agree. And like you said, Chris Paul, we saw it when the Suns were up 2-0, and if the Suns win the championship, where's Chris Paul all time? And they weren't having that convo 2 months ago, let alone 2 years ago, which is just wild to me. And I think it's so stupid. Joe, what do you think a championship would mean to Melo's legacy?
Man, like he said in his interview, they keep him up at night. His last thing he want to accomplish is getting that chip. I think he won on every level. You know what I'm saying? I think him getting this championship would cement, like Lionel said, his legacy. You know, he's already the first ballot Hall of Famer. You know, one of the top 5 scorers of all time in the modern era. So, you know, I think he want to put himself in the best position to get it done. That's why he chose the Lakers. You know, I mean, regardless of what we think about, you know, LeBron and every AD, he put himself in the best spot to get that chip. And I think he's well on his way. I also think you guys may not agree with me, but I think he's gonna play a big role in this upcoming season for the Lakers. I just think he's had conversations with management about his role, and he's gonna play a big part of what they doing. Whether it's starting or come off the bench, he's gonna play a big role in that.
I hope so.
He makes shots, he plays. That's as simple as that. If he can shoot 41% in the three, he will definitely have his playing time. Doesn't matter if he starts or he comes off the bench. When the game's on the line, he'll be on the floor.
Right.
And think about it. I mean, playing with Russ and LeBron, he don't get plenty of opportunities to get open shots, open looks. Yep. Whether it's shot, whether it's mid range, he'll get to his spots. He'll get open looks.
And the thing is, like, both
spot up shots.
Yeah, both of them, like LeBron and Russell, know how to find them. Russell played with them before, so he knows he kind of knows where to find where his spots are at already. Yeah. So that's kind of like a plus. And LeBron only played with him, like, you know, All-Star games and USA, but LeBron can find it. He'll find his shooters. That's one thing I can say. Like, it'll open the floor for him and spot up, and then he'll also be able to, you know, knock it down.
And like Frank Vogel said in the press conference with Russ earlier today, he said, you know, when playing with 3 great players like AD, LeBron, and Russ, you guys have to sacrifice. You're going to have to, at some level, for the whole team as a whole to be great. So I think Russ understands that. He coming back home, he had no problem sacrificing for the betterment of the team. And so LeBron said, hey, I'll play the 4. AD, I'll play the 5. I think they really mean that. I'm just saying.
We've seen it. To their credit, we've seen it.
Yep.
Kenny, you have any thoughts on what a championship would mean for Melo?
For a championship for me, it'll kind of be bragging rights now, because I have a buddy that's hardcore LeBron since day one. We battle every day. He's always sending me, did Melo do this? He'll send me like a list of something. Did Melo do this? I'll see Melo's name on this list, and I'm like, oh my God, like. And then I'll just throw something out there like, well, did LeBron go to college? And he'll be like, so that don't matter. It's always going back and forth. And then I think that it definitely submit his legacy though, because that's one thing they hold over his head. Well, Melo doesn't have a championship. And then the Lakers have stopped him like the last couple times he actually had a chance. The Lakers have been in his way, so it's like I don't know. That's kind of weird to me though. Him, you know, being stopped by them now. He would win one for them, but I mean, in the position he's in now, if he wins it, I mean, I'll definitely be happy as a fan that he won a championship, and that's something they can no longer hold over his head. But it definitely will help with his legacy.
100%, yeah.
Kenny, I got something for you. Shout out to NYC David on IG for sending me this. I just thought of this when you said this. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players in NBA history who have won a college championship, an Olympic. I think this is gold medal, an Olympic medal, and an NBA championship. Bill Russell, Casey Jones, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Anthony Davis, Clyde Lavalette, Jerry Lucas, and Quinn Buckner. 8 dudes in NBA and 8 dudes in basketball history who have won in college, the Olympics, and the NBA. Melo could be the 9th guy, so LeBron will never be able to be on that list. So there's
there you go. We'll take it. There you go.
It's you should hear like the talks. I wish you guys could just hear the talks that it's like we're bumping heads, like ready to fight each other, because
my brother and I have been like this since 2004. We've been like this since 2004. God. He's been LeBron, I've been Melo, and my uncle got me a LeBron jersey in 2004, 2005, and I said I like this guy Carmelo who plays for the Nuggets. Said, all right, give this jersey to your brother. I gave it to my brother. He became a LeBron fan. I stayed a Melo fan, and haven't won many arguments since then. But real quick, this championship thing, I think Lionel had one thing that really stuck with me, where he was saying, like, yes, it'll mean a ton for his legacy in terms of, like, when we look back on his career, we'll be able to say NBA champion too. But we can also say that about Adam Morrison and Jared Dudley and, these dudes. So, like, to me, it's about your situation. That I say that all the time. But one thing that Elmax said that I thought was interesting was it'll really solidify if they win, the whole Melo was selfish narrative. Because remember when he was in OKC, obviously everyone knows me, like, yo, P, they want me to come off the bench, that shit. And then we go to Houston and be like, Melo just didn't accept his role. He accepted a bench role. He accepted essentially a fourth option in both OKC and Houston. He goes to Portland. They had a ton of injuries at the time, so he kind of just went in there. Accepted a backseat this year. And people still want to run with this shit of the whole narrative of, like, he was just in Portland because they let him do whatever they want, or he was just in Portland because they did this or whatever. And now, like, that I think about it, now that he's going to LA and he's going to fucking sacrifice like hell. He's obviously Russ is going to AD. Look, obviously everyone's going to sacrifice. But to have Melo, who, like, he could have went to the Knicks. Like, he could have went to a team like Detroit or Memphis or something like that and gotten shots and gotten close to 20 points a game. He could have done that easily. He could have gone to a team and gotten more money, but he went to LA on a cheap contract and is sacrificing a lot of his game, even from last year. Fuck like the Denver, fuck the New York Melo in terms of how much he's sacrificing. He's sacrificing from last year. If people think he's going to get as many ISO touches this year as he got in Portland, they're crazy. If they think he might get like a similar amount of spot up shots, but he's not getting nearly the amount of ISO touches. So that's a great point. Just the fact that narrative, and especially if they win the championship, to be like, yo, he sacrificed, and this is a top 10 scorer of all time, and they won. That's an interesting story right there.
Question. So you don't think the second unit on the Lakers, he don't get no ISO touches on the block as many as he did with Portland? Second unit?
Russ or LeBron are going to be on the court at all times.
That's the thing.
And I'm guessing it's going to be Russ more with the second unit as opposed to LeBron. And we saw what happened at OKC. It could be. Like, they could go with, like, LeBron. They could start Russ, LeBron, AD, Dwight, and somebody. Like, I have no idea who they're going to start. But they could do it where it's like LeBron and AD play more minutes together, Russ and Melo, or maybe LeBron and Melo, Russ and AD. I really have no idea. But the fact that either Russ or LeBron are going to have the ball in their hands pretty much every single possession, that's the only reason I'm like, I don't know.
I just think, man, with this upcoming season and the star power they have on their team, it's going to be a lot of load management for the long haul, the long run, the goals, the playoffs, and the finals. So they're going to do this thing the right way and not put all these minutes on LeBron's body, AD's bodies, and give players minutes. You know what I'm saying? Play Melo more. With the second unit, give him his touches, give him in the rhythm. We all know when Melo is in rhythm, is when he can get quick and get going. And I just feel it's going to be different than you guys thinking moving forward, man.
I hope so.
Remember this episode. I'm going to hold you guys to it.
I hope so. If we come back here and Melo in 8 months from now, and Melo's averaging 15 points a game and he's like leading the second unit, I will be so happy to be wrong. So happy.
I would be stunned if that was the case.
Let me ask you, okay.
But injuries could be a huge factor.
That too.
Will Melo average more or less 13 points this upcoming season, you think?
Less?
Definitely
less. I would be surprised if he gets double digits, honestly. I think it's just opportunity. Like, look, like, we're talking LeBron, Westbrook, and AD. Like, this is like, go to Portland, CJ and Dame, and now you're talking okay. Now maybe Melo gets, is the third option. Nurk, I know. Hopefully, I never have to say his name after this call because I know I went in on Nurk the last time I was on. So, but yeah, like that caliber is totally different. The LA situation versus the Portland one. So we'll have to see, and that's why I don't think he even scores 10 points a game. But it could be, he could make 2 threes a game, and that could be extremely valuable.
Yeah.
I think this team right now is currently constructed as a version of 2004 Detroit Pistons.
That's a bold statement, Joe.
We'll see.
You're saying like defensively, or what do you mean?
No, defensive, obviously not. I'm just the age, the maturity, the experience of that team opposed to this team with the additions that they have coming back. It might remind me of the 2004 Pistons team, all the experience.
Who's Tayshaun Prince on that team?
End up winning the whole thing.
Who's Tayshaun Prince on this team?
Malik Monk. It's a little bit shorter.
Okay.
That's interesting. And obviously, we all know Melo should have been on that team. Should have won probably 3 championships in his first 5 or 6 seasons. And everything is different from there. And I don't know if I'll ever get over that.
Malik Monk or Kent Bazemore?
Bazemore. Monk is underrated. That dude can fucking ball. He's going to surprise a lot of people. He's going to surprise a lot.
Buckets, man.
Yeah, in Charlotte, he got like suspended for like marijuana, or didn't he get suspended for some stupid shit like that, or like PEDs or something? Yeah. He in the LA spotlight, his stock is gonna go up real quick. All right. We've been talking about the LA team, their chances of winning championship. We know coming out of the East, the Nets are the favorite. Like Milwaukee just won it all, but we know that if the Brooklyn team was healthy, they definitely win. In the West, Joe, we'll start with you on this one. Who do you think's LA's biggest competition in terms of getting out of the West? Not necessarily regular season, but like conference finals. Who is going to give the Lakers the toughest challenge?
I did my homework on this. I really went in depth with it. And I got 3 teams. I got 2 teams that I think, in my opinion, going to be there at the end. I got a dark horse. Number 1 is Utah. Now, we know that Utah is a good regular season team. They'll get you 55 games or so. They play well the regular season. Come playoff time, for whatever reason, they don't come through. They might choke. They don't make shots. They're young.
Yep.
But I think this upcoming year, they're going to learn from their mistakes. They added in the free agency Rudy Gay, who is a bucket getter like Melo. He get buckets. And they added Hassan Whiteside for defense to go back up.
Eric Pascal.
Yeah, from Golden State. So with those additions, man, they could be a team that can be reckoned with if they can figure out how the playoff thing goes. Don't be choking come, playoff rounds. Number 2, I like Phoenix. I know Lionel not high on Phoenix right now, but when you have CP3 and Book, man, that's a good twosome right there. Then you add Ayton in there. I don't think Mikal Bridges is ready to be that 4th scorer. I think he's still maybe 1 or 2 years away. So I like Phoenix too. But my dark horse in the West is the Pelicans, New Orleans.
New Orleans Pelicans are a threat to the Lakers, you think?
Really?
Dark horse. They went and picked up Graham from Charlotte. And they got Valanciunas from Memphis, the big boy. I think they can be, a dark horse with Zion and B.I. They can be a dark horse.
Are we talking the 8th seed, Joe? The dark horse for the 8th seed?
I say top 6. Top 6.
I feel like Zion's gonna request out of there within the next 2 years max, 3 years max, if they don't fix shit quick. So you think the I know you say dark horse, like a team that no one's looking at, but do you think the Pelicans are a bigger threat than the Clippers? Somebody like the Clippers?
Yes, this year. Because think about this. Kawhi's not playing this year. With the ACL,
I forgot about that.
he's not playing. You know what I'm saying? And then they hire Willie Green, the head coach. He's going to bring a different mentality to that team. You put that together with Zion and B.I., then you bring in Graham, Valanciunas, and Garrett Temple. They are a top six avoiding a play-in type of team, in my opinion. So I got Utah with Clarkson, Mitchell, Conley, Gobert, Bogdanovich, Rudy Gay, and Whiteside. Phoenix, Dark Horse, Pelicans.
All right. I kind of like this format, Joe. Kenny and Elmac, I know I didn't say this, but let's do 2 contenders and 1 dark horse. Kenny, what are you thinking?
I went back and forth with it. I think a lot of people are underestimating Golden State too. Like, because
I was gonna bring them up.
Yeah.
Everybody is like a healthy Clay, a healthy Steph. I mean, they added Iguodala for defense. They lost a couple people, but I mean, what's his name? The center. He was
Looney.
He was pretty solid last year. Yeah,
Wiseman?
no, the other one was it Wiseman?
Wiseman.
Yeah, Wiseman.
Oh, Wiseman, yeah.
I mean, Denver, they added a couple people. I mean, they added Jeff Green.
Yeah.
Jamal's coming back. Will Barton is coming back. So they kind of still have like their solid, like their core guys, and they have a okay bench. But I don't know. Phoenix is still up there too. I still think they're not. After last year's loss, it's gonna make them hungry. But I mean, we'll see how far they can go because everybody has to stay healthy too. And we know CP3, you lucky to get 62 games out of him. So it's like,
yeah,
we'll see.
True.
What about your dark horse team?
Dark horse. I don't know. Maybe Memphis. I don't know. I would say Memphis because I still feel like they're almost there. They just haven't gotten there yet. It's like they just keep getting close, and they just haven't got over that hump yet. But
yeah, I thought about that too. I just think Memphis is a little bit too young still. They don't have a mixture of like vets and young kids to bring them along. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Lionel, what do you think? 2 contenders and 1 dark
All right. So some of them have been said, obviously, because I think we all agree that Utah anteed up and is right there in the conversation. I definitely like Golden State now that they would have all of their, call it their 3 core players, although, Kevin Durant is in Brooklyn, and but they've added some other pieces that are on the bench, and I think they're definitely, hungry to take another swing at this thing. But I would say, I would also had the Clippers in the conversation. But yeah, with Kawhi's injury, there's no chance for that team. They're cooked. So my dark horse is the Nuggets. I think getting they have the MVP, and then getting Murray back, and they got a lot of pieces around them. They will be a tough out, and they will give some teams some problems. So I would go with that setup. So Golden State and Utah is definite contenders, and the Nuggets as a dark horse to get to the NBA final.
But do we think that with Golden State and Clay, granted he's one of the greatest shooters we ever seen, like Steph, but not playing in 2 years, come off that ACL, do we expect him to be 75%, 80%? What do we think?
He's just got to be good by the time April comes around. That's what you got to look at it. He doesn't have to be good in October. He's got to be good in April. So it's gonna take time. And hey, he's had 2 significant injuries since the 2019 finals. So I think you'll by the time April comes around, you'll have 90% Clay. You might have 75% to start the season, but you'll have 90% by the end, and that will be good enough to help those guys win or make at least be a contender.
And to ask another question, do we trust James Wiseman to be that guy, take the next step next season? They talking about trading him all summer.
Yeah, they were.
I know. They surrounded him with a lot of talent that will all be back, and barring injury, there will be room for him to develop. And he doesn't need to be great. Like if he gets a double or he's in double range, that is enough for what he needs to do on this team. They're not asking him to go and get even Valanciunas numbers. They're not asking for that.
Right.
He's a double guy, and he can protect the rim and rebound.
Mm-hmm.
They're okay. He doesn't need to shoot. He's going to get layups and rebounds
and dunks.
Yeah.
Dunks.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah, there's also I seen a rumor today. They were going to do Seth Curry and Ben Simmons to the Warriors for Wiggins, a draft pick, and something else, and then CJ McCollum to the Sixers. I seen like a three-team trade. Yeah, it was a rumor. I'll send it to you.
Ben Simmons makes a lot of state. Ben Simmons makes a lot of sense in Golden State.
Yes,
he makes a lot.
So you have Seth on one side, Steph on one side, Clay in the corner, and then you still got Draymond down there. Why? Like that's dangerous.
That changes everything in Golden State, man. They get that deal done.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm not the biggest Ben Simmons fan, but I don't know if there's a team that fits his skill set better than Golden State.
Golden State, 100%.
A guy that can pass and handle the ball, and he can go into the paint, but really he's like a point guard, but that is gonna essentially could be your power forward. A point forward is exactly what that team with the shooters they already had, and adding any other shooters, that team would be lethal. And we've seen, call it the Knicks started it, but small ball. We've talked about that and how they were launching at 3. Golden State perfected it and won a couple titles because of it. So if that were to come to play, watch out.
And also to piggyback off that, I don't think there'd be that much pressure on Ben Simmons to be able to shoot in Golden State
at all.
Get it and go.
Just drive.
Exactly.
Do what you do.
No doubt, man. That's
scary. That'd be scary. I was gonna say I didn't know if anybody was gonna mention the Warriors. The Warriors are gonna be my dark horse because people have forgotten about them, including me sometimes. Like we know what the fuck Steph Curry can do and what he did last year. Unbelievable. He's one of my favorite players of all time. But in terms of championship contenders, we haven't looked at them like that since KD left. And now with Clay coming back, if he's 90% by April, like Lionel was saying, and they can stay healthy, and Draymond can stay healthy, and Wiggins isn't just like a waste of what are they paying him, like fucking $30 million a year or some crazy shit like that. If they trade for Ben Simmons, that team is a top 4 seed in the West.
Easy.
You could argue that they already are without him, but that's my dark horse team. I feel like people have forgotten about the Warriors. Like they remember what Curry was doing last year, but they forgot about like the trio of Steph, Clay, and Draymond, and that team had the best record of all time. Like, yes, they had other pieces. They were 4 or 5 years younger, but that's my dark horse team. I think the number one contender, I can't even get it out. I was going to say the Blazers, and then I saw their logo, and I couldn't even get it out. Like you guys all said, I think Utah, they were the number 1 seed last year, and I think they got better, if I'm being honest with you. And my other team is, I think, Denver. I think with Murray coming back, they're scary. They beat the Blazers in the first round this year without their second best player. I think if they get Jamal Murray back, they are right there too. And like Phoenix, you can make an argument for the Clippers. Kawhi, they said he didn't tear it, right? It's just like a sprain. It's like something, but did they say he tore his ACL?
No, it's his PCL or MCL, and I think it was a partial tear. So how that recovers, I don't know for sure, but it's not a complete tear where he had to have major surgery. So we'll have to wait and see how that thing. But he's going to be load management. They'll find a way to get in, and then okay. So then does Kawhi turn it on like he did in 2019 again? We'll see.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say the Clippers, but that situation is just so I feel like Utah and Denver are right there too. I think the Lakers are like a tier above, but Utah, Denver are the other two. And then we know Brooklyn, if they stay healthy, will be in the finals this year. So going to a Laker Nets finals in Barclays Center would be pretty wild. I'll be sure to wear one of my Melo Knicks jerseys for that one. All right. We come to the end of the podcast. Thank you guys each for being a member and then also hopping on the pod and taking some time out. But as you all know, I'm just going to say it because some people watch this for the first time. At the end of every podcast, we allow each guest to control a narrative. Doesn't have to be Melo related, doesn't have to be basketball related, doesn't have to be sports related. So whoever has one, no specific order here, can go first, and I'll let you guys control a narrative.
Don't let people tell you you're too old to do stuff. Age doesn't really mean stuff. It doesn't really mean anything. I had a kid. I actually went and played ball this afternoon, and the kid was telling me like, "Oh, you're old here." That's okay. But then it was things I knew that he didn't pick up playing basketball yet. So it was like, okay, you think I'm old, but I'm still going to do what I do. So never listen, anybody say you're too old to do stuff. So
Kenny, are we talking about like a 10-year-old? Like how old was this?
No, this was a high school big man, like trying to. Seems like he had to be at least 6'4", but he didn't know like, okay, your height, you don't put the ball in front of me like that. Like I'm going to take it every time you put it in front of me, and then me using my body to like bang into him, going up for a layup. With shot blockers, you use your body, you go into them, it backs them up. So he didn't really know, like
experience,
like certain things. Yeah, so I was like, okay. He thought he was big, he was going to take over. Okay, all right.
I like that.
Okay.
Well, for me, man, you know what? Actually, I have a question first. Do we think, let's say, for example, that the LA Lakers go ahead and win a chip this upcoming season, right? Does Melo win this chip and retire? Or does he run it back with the Lakers?
Definitely, I don't think he runs it back.
Or does he come back home to retire and get a farewell tour of the Knicks?
No, he runs it back.
With who?
You think he runs it back?
He runs it back with the Lakers.
You think so?
I think he goes back.
Yeah. I do too. Yep. You know what? And I did my homework a little bit today about the Lakers and new additions. They needed shooting bad, right? They needed some shooting. They need to get a little bit bigger. They went outside Dwight Howard to back up Gasol or start up Gasol when maybe. They got shooters. Ariza, Ellington, Bazemore, Melo, Monk, Nunn. All those shooters, they all shoot 35% or more from three. Ariza shoot 35%. Ellington shoot 42. Melo 41. Bazemore 41. Monk 40. So all those shooters, man, with those bigs, then LeBron, AD, and then triple-double machine and Russ, that's stacked, man. That equals a chip. That equals the running back one more season.
It's on paper. It's not reality. They got to play still.
And let's not forget, they still got 3 more slots to fill.
Yeah, they do.
So and JJ's still out there who can shoot still. There's somebody else there with JR, yeah. There was one more person, I think. I forgot who the other person was, but when I saw, I said, "Oh wow, JJ still."
If they get Buddy Hield on that team,
I don't think they got the trade pieces anymore for them.
No. Well, yeah, they're paying $120 million for 3 guys, and then the rest, the next 7 are minimum, not even $15 million. So they're not trading. They're not trading like a major piece to get Buddy Hield. That might happen if one of these guys leave the team. That could be the play, that they need an elite shooter like Buddy Hield to join that team, but it ain't happening now. They're going with what they got.
Yeah. Mac, you got a narrative you want to control?
Yeah. All I'll say is this is we've followed Melo from day one. From I got my Oak Hill jersey on. We saw him in Syracuse, win a national title there. We saw him in Denver. We saw him in New York. Things happened there, and obviously then he went to OKC and then ultimately Houston. Was out of the league. Now back in the league the last 2 years in Portland, and I think you saw the experience and how he impacted some of the younger players, and now he's on LA. So I think if you ask people that played with him, particularly in Portland, they would say that he is an amazing teammate. I think he gave back to so many people. So don't be confused with a narrative that Melo is a bad teammate, because he's definitely not.
Oh, fact, 100%. 100%.
Respect.
100%.
Joe, you got one you want to end with?
No, I just think, man, I'm excited about this upcoming season. I think a lot of you guys will be surprised on what Melo can bring, what Melo will be able to do with this team. Like I said earlier in the show, I think he sat down with management, him and his team, and everybody was transparent about his role on the team. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised come the season what he's going to do on the floor.
I hope so. And again, like, we all know what he can do. It's just a matter of if they'll let him. That's
yeah.
all.
Opportunity is what it comes down to.
I think, we got a bad taste in our mouth from Portland and Terry Stotts, because for the season we was like, Stotts don't let them get our play. Stotts takes them out, don't put them in the game. So that's in our minds. So this new team, it's Frank Vogel, I think his name is, but I just think, man, it's going to be a different situation for Melo.
I hope so.
In the season.
Hope so, but remember, he got a raw deal in OKC. He got a raw deal with the Rockets. He got a raw deal with the Blazers. So tell me the trend. Tell me why the trend.
Tell me L Mac. I wouldn't say he got a raw deal OKC. I wouldn't say he got a raw deal. And during the playoffs, especially against Utah, he missed a lot of shots against Utah.
Yeah, but ultimately he was made the scapegoat, and
everywhere
he was the third wheel on that team.
Arguably fourth. Behind Steven Adams. Anyway, I was just gonna rant on about OKC. I could talk literally to you guys for another hour or two. But for real, appreciate each and every one of you
Absolutely, man.
for hopping on, and for everybody watching, commenting, all this shit. We are all in this shit together. For the people commenting and the viewers, the listeners on Apple Podcast, Spotify. There's a lot of LA fans out there, so I'm sure a lot more people are going to be aware of Control, and the people who have been with us, you three, everybody like that. It's going to be an interesting season. It's going to be an interesting
shout out to Melo too.
Get ready for this.
Melo.
Look what Kenny got, man. I don't even think that shit's out yet.
Need that.
I don't even think that shit's out yet.
You're ready for these colors.
Yeah, team early right there. Team early.
Get ready for
And yo, man, shout out to Melo, man. He controls his own narrative, man.
I got some shirts on the way too.
Let me know.
You didn't hear it from me, but Control has a Lakers colored. I'm not personally rocking one. We have a Laker colored T-shirt coming out this month.
Let me know.
So thank you guys. Stay mellow, baby.
All right,
my man. Peace. Stay safe, fellas.
Peace.